So back when I started freelancing, I remember my dad repeating this question to me that was like, are you bleeding? And at the time I didn't really understand what that meant. And all he was talking about was basically like, does your company need it? Will it bleed if you don't have this piece of gear? Rent as much as you can and fill those gaps for as long as you can. And as a young filmmaker, I kind of just wanted to buy the gear and own the gear, and that would make me produce better videos for my clients, which just isn't true, obviously. And at the time, like, that just seemed like such a weird concept to like run my business off of. And that kind of directly flips into like the buy once, cry once motto that we all definitely know and try to abide by. So like, buy quality gear and only buy it once, instead of buying like shitty gear that you're gonna have to replace in a few years. But I think there's this gray area that we don't really talk a lot about, and that's like buying the gear that you think that you do need, but it doesn't actually fit into your workflow, so you don't actually end up using it all that much. And I know it's weird to classify like a cage in something like this, but I do think that it takes like using the gear and being a filmmaker to understand what you actually do need, and like go and test it out in the field before making decisions. And that's something I didn't do when I initially bought my C70. I didn't use it enough to grasp what I needed to assist me. And that's kind of why I had to replace my current like cage accessories that I have on it. The cage that I have on it was a total hindrance to me, and actually made me frustrated when I was filming with my camera. And that should not be the case. Your gear should not do that to you. And that's just something that I have felt more than once. Like, you buy, I'll call it like a fad or a phenomenon, or just like gear that gets popular, and you just get sucked into being like, oh, this is what I need to be like a good filmmaker, or to like have good optics on set. And some of that stuff's just not true, and it's especially not helpful if it doesn't fit into your style. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. And maybe I'm wrong and I just don't think about it enough, but I really want to throw that out into the ether and add it to this like mix of like, yeah, rent as much as you can, don't buy gear until your company is bleeding for it and can afford it. And when you do buy gear, like, buy once, cry once. But in all that, like, is wrapped with like, does it fit in your style of filmmaking? Does it benefit you? And does it make your life easier? Like, all these things need to be asked, and it's something that I don't question myself enough. I watch a couple videos, I see people use gear, and I get really sucked into being like, oh, if I have this, I'll definitely be like a better filmmaker. Again, I know it's funny that like I'm having this conversation about like this cage and handle from Shape, but something as simple as knowing my needs for a cage was so beneficial, and something that I didn't go through when I first bought the C70. But now that I've put like 2 years worth of filming into it, I know exactly what I'm looking for from a cage, and I know what kind of mounting options I need, and all the rest of the things that I just didn't know or couldn't predict at the time when I initially bought the camera. So there is a few things on this cage that I do really like, and that's the fact that it is full anti-twist, so the whole cage is mounted to the body and to itself numerous times. And that's something that was really bugging me on the last cage. So on my last cage, like, the whole body and the whole handle would actually like twist while I was holding the camera because the mounting points were loose. There was nothing I could do about it. So this cage fixes all of that issue. I really like the pivoting top handle and the monitor mount, but I don't love how the handle is actually mounted to the cage. One of the bigger reasons why I wanted to get the Shapes handle specifically was because of their top plate. It allows you to use the original top C70 handle, and that I was like, okay, if I don't love their handle, I can always revert to the like native C70 handle, which a lot of people hate it. I don't mind it. I actually have no complaints about it. Yeah, sure, the build feels weird, but yeah, I liked the ergonomics of it overall and the mic mount. And the cool thing about the Shape as well that I really, really like is that you can take the mic mount off the C70 cage and mount it directly on to the Shape cage. That for me was a really big sell, as well as all the mounting points on the side where the HDMI clamp is. This thing I wasn't expecting when I received this cage was how actually well built it is, and they're Canadian, which makes me happy because I'm Canadian and we love that. All I want to do in this video is share my mistakes and I guess ask you to ask yourself, does this gear fit my filmmaking style? That's it. That's all.